Welcome to Coffee from the Block from the House of Blockchain in Liechtenstein. My guest today is Dustin Plantholt. He's the founder of LifeTough Media and Cryptonaires.com. He's also the host of Bitcoin.com, the podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here, Dustin. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? I mean, before you started Cryptonaires.com, you had a career in the media world, right?
Yeah, correct. So I have a company called LifeTough Media. We focus on the blockchain ecosystem. You know, we help to give companies that deserve it really that ability to be seen, and we bring accountability to a number of the companies that we work with.
And when did it all start? Like you started in the media world, but when was this bridge to the blockchain?
When did it happen? So much like many people that start in the crypto space, they heard about someone who made a lot of money. And it was during the last craze, the ICO craze. And I had friends that did really, really well. And they watched it go up and then they watched it come back down. And as I looked at it for myself, I made a decision that I wanted to invest in this space. I bought Bitcoin like most people typically start off. And the more that I learned about it, the more fascinating it became for me, and that I wanted to know more. I was hungry to figure out what this meant and what blockchain actually does. And with that came the idea to start a media company that was focused on the blockchain ecosystem.
So you went down the rabbit hole, as you say?
I did, and I got burned in the beginning because much like most people when they go down the rabbit hole, the only place they have to look is YouTube or maybe crypto Twitter, and they sometimes can follow the wrong types of people. They can find people that are shilling particular altcoins and that are making promises that, quite frankly, can never be really made. I mean, you don't really ever know what's going to happen. So the beginning was challenging. I didn't have a guide, and so I decided to do something about it. You know, there are people in life that sit back and they talk about all the problems. I'm one of those that says, okay, there's the problems, let's go figure out a solution. So that's what we do, we provide solutions.
And good content, right? Like
good
quality,
content.
Good
I want to
content.
know what a company does. Like, you started a token or a coin, what's the utility behind it?
Yeah.
And many times, you know, they always start with, and I love the conversations they begin with, is, we're gonna help 1 billion people. And I get excited, okay, but tell me about your backyard. Are you helping the people in your backyard first?
Yeah.
Because if you can't help them, you're not gonna help 1 billion people.
Yeah, can imagine, yeah. So, and you must know a lot of very well-known people in the blockchain space. I heard that you did also produce a movie, so you went around the globe and met really interesting
people. I did, and I met
people.
a cool guy, yourself, and that's how we met here in Liechtenstein.
I have no clue how you ended up in Liechtenstein, but it was
quite
fun.
The story. I did a documentary series called Cryptonaires,
yeah.
And it started with an idea. I wanted to find out who were the people that created this, who were the people that are helping to drive it, and who were the people that are making a difference in the world. And I went around the world, from Singapore to Scotland, to here in Liechtenstein, of course, to Switzerland, the neighbor, to San Francisco, to Las Vegas, meeting with people such as Jed McCaleb, the founder of Stellar, meeting with Ripple in Singapore, meeting with people like Roger Ver, and people like Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, and Tim Draper. And all around the planet I went to get their stories. Not to ask them, tell me what the price is going to be, but tell me how this really is improving lives and ultimately improving outcomes.
And so, like, you had the perspective before you did interview all of these amazing people, and then, like, did it change your perspective on blockchain?
That's a great question.
Did it change?
You know, I've been asked this question, and I usually always like get away from answering, but I'm gonna answer it because we're friends. It did change my perspective. I interviewed 45 people around the globe, and I found that while some of them were candidly in this for the right reason, others, I think they lost their way. And what started off as a good idea, that they wanted to make a difference, they wanted to improve certain outcomes, along the way came greed. And it changed them, and it changed their focus. And I think that was one of the things for me that was a little bit disturbing and shocking, is kind of, I got to pull back the veil, and I'm not saying who the individuals were, but I got to pull back the veil and I got to see who they really were, and what drove them, and what excites them, and ultimately what hurts their feelings. I mean, some of these people, they're being trolled every single day. No matter what they say online, they could donate money to charity and someone responds back, you're a scumbag. And while you think that shouldn't hurt someone's feelings that might be a billionaire, or in this case a cryptonaire, it doesn't feel good. Even when you're doing the right thing, people are always out to get you. And I think that was the thing that was shocking. I didn't realize how much jealousy was in this space. How many founders, candidly, were jealous of other founders' success, and how some of them beat on each other. and then they unfortunately go the path, some of them, of not being able to deliver on certain promises.
Yes, and some of these founders, I mean, they were early adopters. Really, they believed in Bitcoin when nobody else was believing in it. Like they were this, like people were thinking, like, what is this person doing with this new crazy internet money? Like in the early days, it was not like now everybody talks about, like at least in our bubble, everybody talks about blockchain and cryptocurrencies and adoption and how you can make things better. But back then, no, that was not the case, and they started quite early, and that's what we see here in Liechtenstein as well. Like you have a lot of founders who started very early, believed in something which was new, and now, people are jealous about
and that happens, I think, in every industry. It's not just within the crypto space. And so while there were people that made the film, there was a large group of people that didn't make the film, that were never ultimately seen in it, or at least their interviewers weren't seen. Because as I said before, everybody's motives and ambitions are a little bit different. And again, social, economic, you can say indoctrination, everybody's interests were different. And I think that was the part, back to the question of what really opened my eyes to this space, is that people need to do their own research. Do you really know these companies that you're ultimately investing in? You're buying certain tokens and coins with the hopes that these projects will succeed. Have you even read the white paper? Do you even know what they do? Now, Bitcoin and Ethereum, well, they're different. I mean, it's really community driven. But some of the other altcoins that people purchase, you don't know anything about these people. And that's the part that I now have this newfound respect, this education type look, that when I look at the market cap, and there's whatever 8,000 give or take tokens or coins, and I see the market cap swinging, this coin went to number 37 and that went to 65, and I look at the marketing behind it. Most people, when they're buying tokens or coins, they have no idea. They've never looked up the founders. They've never looked up their LinkedIn bios. I mean, if you were to look up some of these people candidly on the market cap, you would say, well, they're not qualified to run this company. They're not qualified to even do this. And you're taking your hard-earned dollars, investing into people that candidly don't have the experience. So talking to the number of founders of the projects that have done well and have succeeded really opened my eyes to go, success leaves clues. Yeah. And that was the great thing. I mean, being in Jed McCaleb, I have such a respect for Jed, the founder of Stellar and the founder of Ripple. And being in his office, he's in a cubicle along with everybody else around him. And I said, well, Jed, why don't you have that big corner office? He goes, why do I need that big corner office? He goes, I want to be with the team. And I thought that was such an interesting perspective. And then I met with certain other founders where the teams candidly were afraid of them. Afraid of what they were going to do and how they were going to respond. And so you have a space that can quickly change people because there's a lot of wealth in it.
Yeah. And we already, when I started today, I said that you started a new project called Cryptonaires. And how would you like to change people's life and the people around the corner in their backyards?
You know, I love that question. Cryptonaires came from one of my media clients. And they asked me a question. They said, hey, Dustin, you know a lot of people. You know the good people, you know the bad people. We need a marketing person. Who would you recommend? Someone that's going to do it right. Someone that's going to make sure they follow the regulatory footprint, that they do it the right way. They don't respond to comments of, our coin or our price is going to become, because I go, you can't make those sorts of promises. And so I said to my client, well, it sounds like what you need is, you need a Cryptonaire. You need someone you can vet. And thus began the idea. So Cryptonaires.com is twofold. It's an education portal called Cryptonaires University, because I said earlier on, I remember when I first got into the space, the only professors I had were YouTubers that were candidly getting paid to shill. Yeah. Now, for the people that don't know what shilling means, it's basically to help push the price of a token or a coin. And then they sell on you. So that was the only education I got. And so I looked at it and said, well, but what if I can bring in the top minds in the world, and I know you're one of our partners as well, the top minds in the space that actually care about people, have empathy for people. And I can bring them in and they can become the professors in this. And we can build an education platform to ultimately rule them all. And then the other aspect of the portal is, okay, now you have the education. Now that you've learned, what is blockchain? What is it? What is a cryptocurrency? What is a token? How do you tokenize things? What is an NFT? Is it really wise to buy an NFT right now? And bring in people that can tell you their perspectives and their opinions, some of them that disagree with each other. You know, I always think that it's fascinating with disagreement, is that it's good to have members of your team that disagree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it helps to challenge your own opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Cryptonaires.com is we have people from all walks of life, from Ledger to MoonPay to Atari to your law firm, all around the globe that are looking to make a difference. And then the job aspect. You know this, there are people around the world for no fault of their own that lost their jobs. Yeah. No fault of their own. There are people that are candidly are unhirable. Well, now they can come in, they can learn, and they can apply for these crypternships to help get them into this ecosystem.
I really do think that education is key, and that's really needed in that area. I totally believe that as well. So I think it's a good approach to educate people, to give them the right skill set, as you said. So that's really needed. And you're now in Liechtenstein, in the House of Blockchain, and it's such a pleasure to have you here. But how did you end up in Liechtenstein? And did you found your company in Liechtenstein, or is it just that you visit old friends? Or
yeah, so when I was here with you in 2019, I fell in love with the country, the people. I liked the way it's easy to do business. That's the thing when you're looking at the business landscape around the planet. We're a global company, Cryptonaires.com. What country was going to embrace us? What country was going to say, we don't know everything about blockchain, but we want to learn.
Yeah.
And we're willing to make it easy. We want to embrace it because that's what our alliance partners around the world need. They need a country that is willing to say, we don't know everything, but we want to learn more. And that's what they're doing here. And I know that you led the charge on that in the Blockchain Act. When you look at what is happening and how this space is maturing, it's bringing in the right leaders. And I am not a crypto anarchist. And I did, during the Cryptonaires documentary, there were people that I interviewed that they are against systems. I am not one of those. I think there has to be that balance, that there does need to be regulatory clarity. Absolutely. There does need to be regulation. I'm not saying that you take it to the fullest extent, because to me, you can't regulate Bitcoin and Ethereum. But regulation does have to happen to protect the consumer. I mean, what happens if somebody hacks into my account and they take my wallet, my keys, and I'm on an exchange? Should the exchange be held responsible and say, well, it depends. Well, they're protecting corporations, but they're not protecting individuals. And so I think that as more clarity comes in and dissenting opinions, that they can find some balance. And people like yourself are helping to lead that charge of saying, let's figure out the balance in this. How do we still protect privacy? How do we still create decentralization? But how do we also protect people from a regulatory perspective?
That was also the idea with the Blockchain Act. We said, we started with the question, do we need regulation? Because one approach could be just leave it as it is and let it flourish and let it evolve and then see what happens. But I think the approach that Liechtenstein took is a good one, because just analyzed where regulation was needed to protect consumers, for example, but also to provide that legal certainty. Because if you start your venture in that area, if you start your business in that area, what you want to have is a solid ground. You want to build your company on something stable, on legal certainty. You need regulation in some areas. In some areas, you don't need regulation. It makes a lot of sense to rethink how we do things. And even from a regulatory approach, I think, in the old days, what we did is regulatory bodies, they tried to regulate intermediaries for good reason, because in the financial market, you want to avoid all of these things which were happening, like front running and all of that stuff. So we needed to regulate intermediaries. And with the Blockchain Act, the approach is a different one, where technology is solving the problems and avoiding these things we don't want to have, then it's fine. But if not, if we need to regulate the people who are acting, for example, your example with the exchange is a quite good one, because there you rely again on an intermediary. If somebody is providing exchange services for cryptocurrencies, that's a centrally organized intermediary.
That's right.
On the other hand, if something is a decentrally organized exchange, you can think of, okay, maybe there's no need for having such a strong regulation in place. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't need to regulate decentralized exchanges, because what we see happening all over the place is that you have a centrally organized trading, and then the only thing which is really decentralized is clearing and settlement. So you have to be very precise what you regulate. But I think it's the good approach is the only thing what we can do now is find a balanced approach, and I think the Liechtenstein version is a quite good example, and hopefully others will have a look at it. That's what I tell everybody. Like going back to education, educate yourself.
Get educated.
Like,
because there are still people in the media, and they're all out there, where they only like to talk about the bad.
Yeah.
They don't like to talk about this frictionless payment system, this peer-to-peer electronic cash that allows Dustin to be unbanked, send you funds in seconds with no intermediary, to be in the middle to take their 3%, 5%, 7% transaction fees. And while people say, well, it doesn't matter, I go, tell a small business owner that has to pay, name the I don't know, the payment system they currently use right now. Tell them, if we could put 5% or 7% in your margins back in your pocket, what would you do with it? I don't know, we could hire another person and we could reinvest. And so that's what this space is creating. It's creating change. And the people say, but it's also enabling bad behavior. I go, the blockchain is actually quite transparent. Now, one could argue there's certain privacy coins, but for the most part, the blockchain is transparent. Much more transparent than cash. I mean, you could do a transaction right now in gold and no one would even know it, or in silver. You could actually walk in and sell your gold and silver. No ID is even required. So tell me, which system is a better model, especially for governments to embrace? To me, the blockchain offers a much better solution.
Absolutely, and specifically when I talk to regulators, like, because when you understand the technology, there are ways to solve our problems we have today with new technology, where you can have a balanced approach with privacy for the individual, and on the other hand, that the state can actually fulfill its function and its role. And I think this new technology, if you understand it, if you analyze it, if you really educate yourself, you can have like good new approaches. And one thing I said, it's actually the other way around, as I said before, and I would agree here again with you. It's not that most of these bad press is true, it's actually some of these bad press is also true. It's actually the other way around, because when we look at what we see here, the majority of projects are really legitimate. They want to change the world. It's not that they come here and say like, we really want to change the world, and they mean it. They really want to do that. And I think I love this entrepreneurial spirit. You know, if like a lot of these blockchain people, they believe what they want to do, and they want to reach their goals. And that's what I love about this industry, that you have like this hope for the future, and that it's possible to make the change and to make the difference. So that's really what I feel in that space.
And it's exciting to see what they're coming up with. I mean, I've talked to companies on the VR side, the virtual world of this, creating your own metaverse. I mean, to be able to plug yourself in, and this is where it's headed, to a world that you created, that you allow other people that you align with to come into your world, that you can now be in this virtual kingdom. And I'll kind of think of it like the movie Ready Player One, that there's companies out there developing that technology right now, that is the next evolution of the space, that you're literally going to be able to plug in. And the blockchain solves a lot of those problems and the inefficiencies that happen in the Internet 1.0. It's the Internet of Things, it's the Internet of value. And that's what I've been learning. And for Cryptonaires.com, we're looking for companies that want to be held accountable. You know, when you join Cryptonaires, you're ultimately telling others around the world that, we are the good guys. We are transparent. You can audit us. You can take a look under the hood. You can see our white paper. You can see we're doing everything we can to keep to it. And we ultimately are here to make a difference. And we're aligning with other companies that share that similar value.
So we are now in 2021. Would you agree that blockchain is here to stay?
Blockchain is absolutely here to stay. You know, when you look at the stock exchange in the US, it's over 130 years young. Think about that, 130 years old, you can say it that way as well. 130 years. You know, Bitcoin was launched in 2009, January. So 2009, blockchain officially began what we know it today. 2009. We are in the beginning. We're probably, in a marathon, like we might be on the second lap. We may even be close to a third. But we are nowhere near that finish line. If you only knew what some of these companies are looking to solve, that are looking to help counties and municipalities raise money. I mean, companies that are out there looking to make a difference, to make sure the meat you buy is actually the meat that was shipped over from that country. And in certain parts of the world, the tracking system is not like you think it is.
Or the land registry.
Sure. Or fraud. You have companies that are making a difference. And I love seeing how it's being, the innovation aspect of it. And I do believe blockchain makes things transparent. You know, you can call people out on what they're doing wrong. You can see where the money's going, ultimately. And again, unlike traditional systems where you have intermediaries, like you don't really ever really know, or at least it takes time to kind of track to figure out. I believe in a world that says, if you and I want to do business together, we should be able to transact without having to have that middle person or middle company over here taking a percentage.
Because that's a natural thing of making our processes more efficient, right? I mean, that's what we do every day. Like that's our goal, to make everything more efficient. And if you don't need an intermediary, why would you use one?
Why would you use them? Before you go to a grocery store, imagine there was someone at the front, a consultant that says, all right, I'm going to go with you. And you go, no, I just want to buy these groceries. Yeah. They say, no, I'm coming with you. And so they go along with you. And when you go to check out, you go, okay, I got all my groceries. I picked it out. Yeah. I did all the work. I walked around, I researched, I did and the consultant says, okay, I'm going to take 5%. Well, why? Well, I walked with you. I go, but I could have got here on my own. I knew the path. Yeah. I mean, right there at the counter, I'm going to be able to scan it. I'm going to be able to swipe. Yeah. So that people laugh at that. And I look at what's happening in the digital asset space. Yeah. You know, when now you have some of these regulators around the world, not naming any particular regulation company, but they're very worried about the consumer. And my response to that is, well, I understand that consumers need to be protected. Casinos are the perfect example. If I walked into a casino, do you require a financial advisor to walk in with me? Do you require that the financial advisor says, okay, Dustin, what's your net worth? Yeah. Tell me your debt to income ratio. Tell me what your future is. How are you going to provide for your family? Are they asking me these questions saying, okay, we're only going to let you transact $50? Yeah. No. So you've eliminated the red tape, in essence, so I just have to be, an adult based upon a country's age to walk into a casino? So I can walk into a casino, I can spend all of my money in money I don't have. I can charge it on credit cards that say, hey, Dustin, great news, we just increased your limit. Go back in, is what it tells me in my mind. But yet they have this need to look at the digital asset space and tell people, well, you aren't smart enough to buy these digital assets without someone else helping. I go, and that's where I strongly disagree. There are some people that need hand-holding and there's advisors out there they can go to, but I do think people should be able to make their own determination. And that's what Cryptonaires.com is about. It's helping people get to that place that they make their own decision. Do you need to work with an advisor? Some people do. I'm one of those that does. Sure. I don't know everything. I need people that have more wisdom and have come before me and have lived longer to say, here's the thing you can't expect along the way. Don't go 100% in to digital assets. It is speculation.
Yes, and there are a lot of people who don't want to store their own private keys. They don't want to manage their keys. They want to have like third parties. And then we are back again. Okay, then we have to think about which intermediaries can do that, which are allowed, what do they need. But thank you very much, Dustin. It was really a pleasure to talk to you. I have one final question. What is your favorite coffee?
My favorite coffee, actually it's made here in Liechtenstein, right there. Coffee for the block. You make, I tell you what, you make the best coffees.
Thank you very much. But it's like the type of coffee, is it an espresso, espresso macchiato,
I'm a cappuccino guy.
Yesterday you had a cappuccino.
I had a cappuccino yesterday. I really like cappuccinos. And you said why? I put about 5 pounds of sugar in it. And at that point, it's really a milkshake. It's very enjoyable, just warmed up a little bit more.
Thank you very much for having you.
Thanks
it
for
was
having me.
Really a pleasure, Dustin, and hope to see you soon in Liechtenstein.
I will see you, I think, on the top floor. So yes. Good to see you again.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Thomas.